Rumi's insecurities taught me some viable, even if super obvious, lessons. The biggest one, of course, being that we need to stop searching for acceptance and decidedly and determinedly create our own world where it exists. It sounds overly complex, but let me simplify it for you all. Rumi's adopted mother did her best to create an environment where Rumi would be accepted by avoiding the difficult topic of who, or more importantly, what she is. We all know what it's like to grow up in environments where some part of us is not what everyone else wants to see or hear. So we do what Celine believed was the best option. We hide. The problem is, no matter how we try to tear out these weeds, they always find a way through the cracks. We have to look at them and decide, maybe they aren't the real issue. Maybe we have gotten in the way. Maybe we have the wrong perception and that this issue needs to be resolved or improved when really it just needs to be accepted. Now, whether we decide to label the accepted issue as fault or folly is entirely up to us in the end. It's something I feel Powder would have benefited from before she decided to be Jinx. She was told that she was a mistake, when in reality she only made a mistake. The difference was monumental enough for her to make being a mistake her whole persona. But if things went differently, if someone, namely Vi, told her that her mistake was folly and not fault, she may have been able to grow Powder among the weeds, allowing her to accept her mistake and learn from it. Unfortunately, Jinx had no one to do this for her, so she had to find a way to guide herself. She took the other route, as did Rumi. They both treated themselves as faulty mistakes, but the difference comes when Rumi keeps her younger self alive by holding on to hope for something better, whereas Jinx became hopeless. I have a crazy strong connection to both characters, and I am somewhere in the middle. I always have hope for a better me, for one that owns up to her mistakes, but doesn't identify by them. But I feel myself to be more faulty than folly, and perhaps that's my anxiety talking. Unlike Rumi, I haven't figured out how to accept all of myself, except to just tell everyone who I am and what I believe is okay. Ask my family about that one, they hate it. I just feel like if I don't say these things out loud, that these truths about myself will become buried deep down and explode eventually. I don't want to depend on anyone outside myself for acceptance. I'd rather let everyone know, this is me. Take it or leave it. Because the truth is, I don't have the stamina that Rumi did. I can't hold things down for years upon years, things that bother me, that destroy me, that make me sick. I used to joke and say my confession clock is about 48 hours once I trust a person, and that's because my mind truly becomes its own prison. I will be beside myself, and I just don't want that for myself. I also don't want that for anyone else. And this is where I am seriously jealous of Rumi, Mira, and Zoe. They all found someone, two someones, who accepts all of them. They found what it sounds like. And that makes me tear up. I don't quite know what it sounds like, but at the same time, because of one very special relationship in my life, I am learning. It is so scary to admit our mistakes when we believe ourselves faulty. Rejection is a huge wall to hurl ourselves over, but there can't be love if there is no true understanding. And that's what Rumi taught me, and why I think Powder would have loved her. I really tried not to cry for these videos. Sometimes it's very hard when I'm doing journals like this because I just want to read you guys like a really nice journal, something deep, something powerful, something moving. And every time I write, like, it just takes me over, honestly. It takes me over. I just wanted to share what I was doing this week, and this movie had like a greater impact on me than I expected. Um, I never thought I'd cry over it. Like, when someone tells me the title, K-pop Demon Hunters, I'm like, okay. It literally does sound like something from back in the old days when Batman was a thing. If anybody has seen old school Batman cartoons, let's go with the ones in color. We'll start there. It sounds like a Batman episode, and I was floored because I wasn't ready. Um, and something about me, I don't like pop music. I'm usually not a huge fan. And I saw it was a pop musical, and I was like, ooh, I don't know about it. But outside of the film aspects itself, I don't want to get caught up in that. Outside of all of that, inside the actual storytelling and the, what would you call this? The fifth dimension of characteristics in each character development, it was insane. And the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking, Rumi's the only one with these insecurities. No one is going to understand her. No one's going to understand her. And in the movie, towards, I guess you can say after the climax, that we hear the other girls have their insecurities, deep insecurities, and valid ones too. And I was like, damn, but they're all living with these secrets. And if they just owned up to the secrets, I understand that. Um, you know, ugh, I'm not good at this crying on camera thing. I'm really not good at it. Oh, damn, this stuff is real. Confessing, um, who you are, and what you believe to people that you love and that you hope will love you afterwards is so difficult. Because when you get rejected, the memory of the rejection is so intense that you feel like, I'm never gonna do this again. I'm never gonna do this again. You try your best not to make mistakes. And because you're human, it's inevitable. So when the mistake comes, you don't want to tell anyone. Damn. I'm gonna take a break. 1 second. I wanted to say that when you make these mistakes, we don't want to tell anybody about the mistakes that we make because it's so hard after um after feeling the rejection. It is hard. And I didn't talk about it in my journal entry this week, but one very important thing that Rumi had that Jinx did not, um and it was somebody to confide in, someone that could actually take your confession and not do anything with it except for let it exist around you. That's a that's a blessing to have. And they were able to find out what it sounds like because of that. She was begging the wrong person, and even though Celine, I really don't think she had any malintentions at all. Although I feel like her motivations were actually more related to the honeymoon than they were to Rumi specifically, but that's another argument. And she tried, but she was doing it in the wrong way. And thankfully, Rumi had Mira and Zoe, and that's pretty awesome. And you might think, oh, you want to be able to connect to everyone, like eventually all their souls connect in the end and stuff. And then it was like, no, you don't need everyone to connect to you. You don't need everyone to understand you, everyone to accept you, everyone to forgive you. You actually just need one person. And even though, yes, self acceptance and self love is part of that, that goes first. When you find somebody who does, in fact, accept you, even after all of the the shizen that you might pull. I mean, that's pretty incredible. I just wanted to share that with you guys. That's all. It's a very intense movie when you really get deep down into the nitty gritty of the storytelling and what it's really, really based on, which is something we don't talk about, is our demons inside, the mistakes we hide, and how difficult it is to overcome the hurdle of self acceptance and accepting those that you love around you. Well, damn, that's hard. So, anyway, I wanted to thank you guys for sticking around and listening to this and watching this format because I've been testing a lot of video formats that I like, seeing what things kind of work for me and what things don't. And the truth is, what I really wanted to do for YouTube is just create some videos where it's really cozy corner type conversations, things that I would like to do with people if I was just in a coffee shop, and we could talk about something. Would I cry in a coffee shop? Probably, actually. There are some life events that made me different where I'm not really afraid of crying in public, but I didn't want to break down on camera ugly cries. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm doing a lot of work these days. I'm working on molding the clay and all that stuff that you guys saw. And I'm hoping that eventually this brings me to a point that I can make some really phenomenal work. But I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes as well as behind my mind or inside my mind of the things that I've been thinking about lately. So thanks so much for sticking around, guys. This is a new chapter. What will I call this chapter? I don't really know. If you have chapter suggestions, I'm down to know. I like to put them in different playlists, and so my next set of 25 videos will kind of be related to that chapter. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Anyhow, as usual, I'm wishing you guys wonder and room to be yourself from this side of the world. Adios.